The big white room was full of alien voices talking over each other. Jake Morrison sat in the visitor seats watching the same boring show he had seen for months. Down below on the main floor, hundreds of different aliens argued about trade rules and space shipping routes. They had been doing this for 3 years now and nothing ever changed. Jake wore the blue uniform of the Earth Space Navy. His job was to watch these meetings and report back to his bosses. Most of the time, he felt like he was wasting his time. The aliens never listened to anything the humans said anyway. On the main floor, Ambassador Lisa Campbell stood at a small desk. She was reading from a thick stack of papers about farming on human colonies. Lisa had worked for weeks on this proposal. She wanted the aliens to let human farmers sell their food to more planets. The food was good. Human farmers could grow more crops than anyone else in the galaxy. They had figured out how to make plants grow bigger and faster. But the alien governments would not let them sell to most planets. They said human farming was too dangerous or too different. Jake knew this was not true. He had visited the human farm worlds. The crops were healthy and the soil was clean. The real reason was simple. The old alien companies did not want competition. They had been selling food for thousands of years, and they liked their profits. The front of the room, Trade Minister Vexahal clicked his mouthparts together. The translation computer turned his alien speech into English words. The new species must learn patience. Perhaps in 100 years, when their methods are proven safe, we can discuss small changes to the current rules. 100 years. Jake almost laughed. The aliens lived much longer than humans. To them, a century was like a few years. But for humans, it might as well be forever. Most of the people alive today would be dead before any changes happened. Lisa kept her voice calm, but Jake could see she was angry. Minister Vexahal, our colonies are making enough food to feed half the outer planets. The current rules force us to let crops die while people go hungry in other systems. A big purple alien named Senator Mordak spoke up. His species looked like walking lizards with too many arms. Human farming methods damage the soil. We cannot risk spreading contamination to established food supply chains. Jake had read the soil reports. This was complete nonsense. Human farming actually made soil healthier over time. But Senator Mordak did not care about facts. His species controlled most of the food trade in 3 sectors. Letting humans compete would cost them billions of credits. The meeting went on for 2 more hours. Every human proposal was shot down. Every request for fair treatment was ignored. The aliens smiled and used polite words, but their message was clear. Humans were not welcome as equals. When the session ended, Jake watched Lisa gather her papers. She moved slowly like someone very tired. They had prepared for months only to be dismissed in minutes. It was always the same story. That night, Lisa received a secret message on her private computer. It came from Commander Pete Johnson, who worked at a listening post on a planet called Haven's Edge. The message was short but scary. "Ma'am, you need to see this. They are not just blocking our trade proposals, they are planning something much bigger." Lisa opened the attached files and started reading. Her hands began to shake. Human intelligence officers had been secretly listening to alien communications for months. They had broken the alien codes and were reading their private messages. What they found was worse than anyone had imagined. The big alien governments were not just trying to keep humans poor through trade rules. They were working together to make sure humans never became powerful. There were even discussions about using military force if humans kept pushing for equal rights. Lisa read message after message. Alien leaders talking about the human problem like it was a disease that needed to be cured. They saw human success as a threat to their control. They would do anything to keep humans weak and dependent. The next morning brought another council meeting. This time, Senator Mordak presented a new proposal that made Lisa's stomach turn. He wanted to create new safety standards for all farm products. The standards were designed to ban human farming methods completely. "We must protect galactic health," Mordak said with fake concern. "These new biological compatibility tests will ensure only the safest food reaches consumer markets." Lisa knew this was the final insult. The aliens were not content to just limit human trade. Now they wanted to destroy human farming entirely. They would rather let people starve than allow humans to compete fairly. Lisa stood up slowly. The huge chamber became quiet as hundreds of alien eyes looked at her. She activated her translation device so everyone could understand her words. "Honored representatives," she began, her voice clear and strong. "Humanity has spent 50 years trying to be part of this organization as equal partners. We have offered our knowledge, our work, and our friendship to the galactic community." The silence in the chamber was complete. No junior member had ever spoken like this to the full council. "We have watched as our proposals are rejected without discussion. We have suffered unfair policies disguised as safety rules. We have stayed patient while our colonies struggle under quotas designed to keep us dependent on your charity." Jake leaned forward in his seat. He could feel something important happening. "Today we see a law that would make it impossible for us to feed our own people, much less help feed others. This is not trade regulation. This is economic warfare, disguised as policy." Whispers started spreading through the alien representatives. This was unprecedented. No one had ever challenged the council so directly. Lisa's voice grew stronger and more confident. "Humanity did not come to the stars to beg for scraps from your table. We came as partners. Since partnership seems impossible, we will find our own path forward." Without another word, Lisa Campbell gathered her papers and walked toward the exit. Her staff followed behind her. Their footsteps echoed in the shocked silence of the chamber. As they left, Jake Morrison looked back at the alien faces. Some looked confused. Some looked angry. But on a few faces he saw something different. Something that looked like fear. They had no idea what humanity could do when pushed too far. But they were about to find out. 3 months after Lisa Campbell walked out of the Alien Council, Captain Ben Rodriguez was flying the strangest cargo of his life. His ship was called Freighter's Hope, and it was packed full of people instead of goods. Hundreds of human families sat in the cargo holds, leaving their old homes behind to start new lives far away from alien space. The exodus had started quietly. No big announcements or government orders. Human families just began selling their houses and businesses, booking trips to the outer edge of known space. They were heading to places the aliens had called worthless and empty. On the ship's bridge, Helen Torres worked at the navigation computer. She was plotting a course through star systems that were not on any official maps. These were places the alien governments had ignored because they were too far away or too hard to reach. "Captain," Helen called out, "we are getting close to the Kepler 442 system. The sensors show 3 planets that might support life and lots of asteroids full of rare metals." Ben nodded as he looked at the readings. In alien space, a system like this would have been claimed and mined within weeks. Out here, beyond alien control, it meant opportunity. "Any signs of smart life forms?" "No advanced civilizations. There are some simple settlements on the second planet, but they look very primitive." This was becoming the pattern for human expansion. While the aliens focused on taking advantage of civilizations that already had valuable resources, humans were quietly making friends with younger species that the aliens had never bothered to contact. Back on Earth, Director Karen Adams was running the biggest secret operation in human history from a normal-looking office building. The official records showed only a small increase in space tourism and trade missions. The truth was much more complex. "Give me a status report on the Titan initiative," she asked her assistant, Paul Griffin. Paul brought up holographic displays showing resource flows across dozens of star systems. "Food production is up 340% across our new settlements. The Kepler colonies are making synthetic materials the aliens do not even know exist. And the asteroid mining operations." He stopped to check his numbers again. "Ma'am, we are pulling rare elements out of space rocks at rates that would crash the galactic market if we were still part of their system." Karen smiled slightly. The aliens' biggest weakness was thinking that wealth came from controlling existing resources and trade routes. Humanity had discovered something much more powerful: innovation and real cooperation with other species. The changes were not just about economics. On a hidden military research station in the Vega system, Colonel Danny Wright was watching projects that would have been impossible under alien oversight. Human scientists, free from alien rules and technology sharing agreements, were making breakthrough discoveries faster than ever before. The new engine system is ready for testing, reported Dr. Amy Collins, the project's lead engineer. We are looking at travel time 60% faster than anything in the alien fleet. Colonel Wright studied the technical papers with growing excitement. And they have no idea we have developed this? None. Our public research programs are still working on improvements to standard alien technology. All the real innovation is happening out here in secret. This was happening at dozens of hidden facilities. While pretending to struggle with outdated alien technology, humanity was quietly revolutionizing everything from faster-than-light travel to energy production to computer systems. Meanwhile, the alien governments were starting to notice changes. Trade Minister Vexhal had called an emergency meeting to discuss what he called concerning economic problems. Human trade volume has dropped by 78% over the past 3 months, he announced to the other alien representatives. There, merchant ships are rarely seen in normal shipping lanes, and their colonies have stopped asking for standard resource shipments. Senator Mordak was dismissive. The primitives are probably having trouble with basic resource management. This proves we were right to limit their market access. But Intelligence Director Zarthak was more worried. Her species had survived by carefully watching for potential threats. Minister, our scouts report unusual activity in star systems we considered worthless. Human ships are operating in regions we thought were empty. Let them waste their time. On barren worlds, Mordak replied. When they run out of resources on failed colonies, they will come back asking for help. Zarthak's concern grew when she reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Human ships were not just operating in worthless systems. They were building permanent structures at an alarming rate. More troubling were the gaps in their surveillance network. Systems that had been empty space 6 months ago now showed signs of advanced construction, but detailed scans were being blocked by unknown technology. Back on Earth, Karen Adams was briefing a select group of human leaders through encrypted quantum communication. The meeting included colony governors, fleet commanders, and research directors scattered across dozens of star systems. Phase 2 is complete, she announced. Our industrial capacity now exceeds pre-Exodus levels, and we are operating completely outside alien oversight. Our new settlements are self-sufficient and our technology base is advancing exponentially. Governor Steve Murphy of the New Austin colony raised a concern. Director, we are receiving increasing numbers of refugees from alien space. Other species are noticing our prosperity and asking for sanctuary. How do we handle this without revealing our capabilities? Karen had been expecting this question. We help them, carefully. We select smaller species that have been pushed around by the major powers. We offer them real partnership, not the economic exploitation they are used to. But we screen carefully and maintain security. The strategy was already showing results. The insect-like Chithari, barely tolerated in alien space because of their hive-mind social structure, had eagerly accepted human help in establishing their own independent colonies. In exchange, their unique biological technology was helping humans develop living ships that could repair themselves and adapt to hostile environments. Similarly, the water-dwelling Nereids, dismissed by the aliens as having no valuable resources, had proven invaluable partners in underwater mining operations. Their ocean world colonies were becoming some of the most productive in human space. As the months passed, reports reaching the Alien Council grew more concerning. Entire trade routes were shifting as smaller species began doing business through human middlemen, rather than established alien channels. Resource prices were changing as traditional supply chains were disrupted by new sources of unknown origin. Most disturbing were the technological advances being observed in the Outer Rim. Ships using engines that alien scientists could not explain. Communication networks that could not be intercepted or jammed. Defense systems that seemed to predict and counter every known weapon type. Trade Minister Vexhal finally said what many were thinking. Perhaps we underestimated the humans' capabilities, but Senator Mordak remained stubbornly confident. They are using up their reserves to create an illusion of prosperity. When their resources run out, they will collapse faster than they rose. Neither realized that humanity was not just creating an alternative to the alien system. They were building something entirely new, something that would soon make the established galactic order obsolete. As Director Adams ended her latest briefing, she looked out at the stars visible through her office window. Somewhere out there, human creativity was transforming empty worlds into gardens, creating technology that seemed like magic, and forging alliances based on mutual respect rather than exploitation. The aliens had thought they were dealing with just another species seeking admission to their exclusive club. They had no idea they were witnessing the birth of something that would ultimately replace them entirely. The quiet revolution was just beginning. 1 year after humanity left the Alien Council, Captain Rachel Miller was flying her exploration ship to meet a species the aliens had never bothered to contact. The crystal beings of Sigma Draconis lived on a world made of silicon and minerals that the major alien powers had called economically worthless. "Captain," called Communications Officer Tony Carter, "we are getting a response to our peaceful greeting. The translation computer is having trouble with their musical language." Rachel smiled as the bridge filled with beautiful bell-like sounds. After months of careful study, human scientists had figured out how the crystal beings communicated using vibrations through their mineral bodies. It was elegant and complex, completely unlike anything in the alien databases. "Tell them we are honored by their response," she said, "and start sending the cultural exchange package." The crystal beings were just one of dozens of species humanity had found beyond alien space. While the major alien powers focused on exploiting civilizations that already had valuable resources, humans were discovering that the galaxy was full of fascinating peoples who had been completely ignored. On the industrial world of New Harmony, Governor Bill Thompson was hosting representatives from 7 different species in what had become the first truly democratic space council. Unlike the Alien Federation's rigid power structure, the Harmony Alliance operated on principles of mutual benefit and shared decision-making. "The plant-like Verdanian agricultural techniques have increased our food production by 200%, reported Dr. Nancy Rodriguez, the colony's chief scientist. "In exchange, our medical technology has extended their average lifespan by 30 years. The Verdanians had been dismissed by the aliens as agricultural primitives. In reality, they had sophisticated understanding of biological systems that worked perfectly with human technology. Their worlds were becoming showcases of sustainable development that made alien industrial practices look crude and wasteful. "The Water-Dwelling Alliance has completed the deep ocean mining facilities," added Commander Roger Davis. "The rare elements we are extracting are not even in the alien periodic table." This was the pattern across human space. Each new partnership brought innovations that multiplied exponentially when combined with human creativity and other allied technologies. The alien approach of maintaining technological superiority through information control was proving obsolete in the face of genuine cooperation. Meanwhile, in alien space, the first signs of serious concern were emerging. Intelligence Director Zarthak was presenting her latest findings to an emergency session of the Security Council. "The situation is more serious than we initially thought," she began, turning on a holographic display of the galaxy's outer rim, regions. Human activity now spans over 200 systems with permanent installations in at least 80 of them. The display showed a network of connections spreading across previously empty space like a vast spider web. Trade routes, communication relays, and industrial centers were appearing in regions the aliens had never bothered to explore. "More concerning," Zarthak continued, "is the rate of technological advancement we are observing. Ships with engines 400% more efficient than our best designs, energy weapons that can penetrate our strongest shields, and defensive technologies that seem to adapt in real time to any attack." General Thakmore leaned forward. "Are we certain these are human developments? Perhaps they have formed an alliance with an unknown advanced species. Our analysis suggests otherwise. The technological signatures are consistent with human engineering principles, but advanced far beyond what they showed during their membership with us. It appears that our restrictions on their research were more effective than we intended. The implications hung heavy in the chamber. For decades, the aliens had carefully controlled which technologies were shared with newer member species, ensuring that established powers maintained their advantages. They had assumed this would keep humanity dependent and manageable. Instead, it had simply forced humans to develop their own solutions that were proving superior to alien standards. Trade Minister Vexhall raised another concern. We are also seeing significant economic disruption. 17 minor species have withdrawn from our trade agreements in the past 6 months. They claim to have found better opportunities elsewhere. The economic data was indeed alarming. Species that had been profitable client states for centuries were suddenly able to meet their needs through alternative sources. The alien carefully constructed trade monopolies were crumbling as more options became available. Back in human space, Director Karen Adams was coordinating an expansion that dwarfed any colonial movement in Earth's history. But this was not conquest or exploitation. It was the creation of something entirely new. Project Lighthouse is ready for implementation, announced Chief Engineer Carl Anderson during the weekly leadership briefing. We can establish instant communication across all Allied systems within 6 months. The Lighthouse network represented a quantum leap beyond anything the aliens possessed. Using principles discovered through collaboration with the energy-based Lumina species, human scientists had developed communication technology that operated outside normal space-time limitations. Combined with our new production capabilities, this gives us real-time coordination across distances that would take the aliens months to manage, added Admiral Susan Wright, commander of the growing human fleet. The military implications were staggering, but Admiral Wright was more focused on the peaceful applications. Instant communication would allow allied species to share knowledge, coordinate resources, and respond to crises with unprecedented efficiency. We have also made progress on the cultural integration protocols, reported Dr. Patricia Hughes, Director of Alien Studies. The Universal Education Network is ready to begin operations. Any species can access our combined knowledge base and contribute their own discoveries. This was perhaps humanity's most radical innovation. While the aliens hoarded information to maintain control, the Harmony Alliance was creating a completely open system where knowledge belonged to everyone. The results were already exceeding all projections. The insect-like Chitauri were contributing biological computing techniques that made artificial intelligence systems more intuitive and adaptive. The water-dwelling Nereids' understanding of fluid dynamics was revolutionizing spacecraft design. The crystal beings' harmonic technologies were opening entirely new fields of physics. As these innovations combined and evolved, they were creating capabilities that seemed almost magical compared to alien technology. Ships that could heal themselves. Computers that learned and grew like living organisms. Energy systems that drew power from empty space itself. 3 months later, the Alien Council convened its most serious session in over a century. The agenda had only one item: the human problem. The situation has moved beyond economic disruption. Intelligence Director Zarthak reported grimly. We now have confirmation of at least 40 species that have completely withdrawn from our space to join what they are calling the Harmony Alliance. The holographic display showed a galaxy increasingly divided. Alien space, once encompassing most of the known civilizations, was now surrounded by a growing network of independent systems united under human leadership. Their industrial capacity appears to exceed our own, continued Zarthak. Energy signatures suggest manufacturing capabilities we cannot match, and their defensive installations. Our latest scout ships cannot even approach within 10 light years before their sensors detect us and deploy countermeasures. General Thakmore's military assessment was even more concerning. If they chose to take aggressive action, our current fleet strength would be insufficient to defend core worlds. They have achieved technological and numerical superiority in less than 2 standard years. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The galactic powers that had ruled for thousands of years found themselves suddenly obsolete, outpaced by the species they had dismissed as primitive newcomers. Senator Mordak finally broke the silence. This is impossible. No single species could achieve such rapid advancement. They are not a single species anymore, Zarthak replied quietly. Intelligence suggests the Harmony Alliance includes over 60 different civilizations, all working, together with shared resources and knowledge. They have created something we never imagined possible. As the session continued, one fact became increasingly clear. The galaxy had changed, and the old order was coming to an end. The Corvin Imperial flagship Dominion's Edge dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of what had once been empty space. Admiral Mortak commanded the most powerful battle fleet the aliens had put together in 300 years. His mission was simple: show the Harmony Alliance who really controlled the galaxy and remind them of their place. What his sensors showed him instead made his blood freeze. "Admiral," reported Navigation Officer Krelhan, his voice shaking with disbelief. "I am reading massive energy signatures throughout this system, artificial structures everywhere." The main display lit up with hundreds of contact markers. Space stations the size of small moons orbited a star that alien charts marked as uninhabited. Massive industrial platforms were processing asteroids into refined materials at rates that made alien production look primitive. Between them moved ships using engines that bent space itself, traveling at speeds that should have been impossible. "Sir, we are being scanned," called Tactical Officer Ventar. "Multiple sources using frequencies I do not recognize. And, Admiral, they are scanning through our shields like they are not even there." Before Admiral Mortak could respond, the communication system turned on by itself. The face that appeared on screen was human, middle-aged, with the calm confidence of someone completely in control. "Admiral Mortak," the human said in perfect Corvin language. "I am Admiral Jack Peterson of the Harmony Defense Force. You are a long way from alien space." The casual tone made Mortak almost as angry as the fact that his secret approach had been detected from the moment they entered the system. "Human, you will address me with proper respect. I am Admiral of the 3rd Fleet of the Corvin Imperial Navy." Admiral Peterson's expression did not change. "Admiral Mortak, you have brought 47 warships into Alliance space without permission or invitation. That could be considered an act of war. We are conducting routine patrols in unclaimed territory," Mortak replied, though even he could see how ridiculous this sounded. The system around them was clearly anything but unclaimed. "I see. In that case, you will not mind if we escort you back to the border. For your own safety, of course. Some of our newer defense systems are still being tested." As if summoned by his words, new contacts appeared on Mortak's screens. Ships that had not been there moments before, as if they had appeared from nothing. The alien fleet suddenly found itself outnumbered 3-1 by vessels whose design was completely unknown. "Admiral," whispered Tactical Officer Ventar, "their ships, they are not showing up on deep scans. It is like they are partially phased out of normal space." Mortak stared at the tactical display in growing horror. His 47 ships, representing the best of alien military technology, were surrounded by a fleet that seemed to operate by entirely different rules of physics. "We will depart when our patrol is complete," he announced, trying to project authority he no longer felt. Admiral Peterson's response was quiet but carried an unmistakable edge. "Admiral, I am going to explain something to you very clearly. 3 years ago, your people, along with the rest of the Alien Council, made a decision. You decided that humanity was not worthy of equal treatment. You decided that our innovations threatened your control. You decided that we should remain dependent on your goodwill for survival." The human leaned forward slightly. "That was your choice. Our choice was to find a different path. We have built something new out here, something better than what you offered. And we have done it with the 40-plus species you dismissed as worthless." The display shifted to show the broader system. What Admiral Mortak had initially taken for industrial platforms were revealed to be something far more significant. Entire worlds were being transformed into gardens. Space habitats housed billions of beings from dozens of different species. Research stations were pushing the boundaries of science at rates that made alien advancement look slow. "This is not just human space anymore," Admiral Peterson continued. This is the home of everyone who wanted something better than your idea of civilization. And Admiral, we have no intention of letting you destroy what we have built. Mortak's communications. Officer suddenly looked up in alarm. Sir, we are receiving surrender requests from 17 of our escort vessels. What? Mortak spun to check his fleet status display. Nearly half of his ships were asking permission to stand down. Explain yourself. Admiral, came a transmission. From Captain Veldan of the cruiser, Honor's Blade. My crew has been monitoring Alliance communications. Sir, they are offering full citizenship to any alien personnel who wish to defect. Full citizenship, Admiral. Not the client state status our worlds have under the Corvan Empire. The situation was spinning out of control. Admiral Mortak realized that his show of strength was becoming a recruitment opportunity for the Alliance. Worse, it was working. The promise of genuine equality was proving more powerful than centuries of enforced loyalty. All vessels will maintain formation and prepare for departure, he ordered, his voice cracking slightly. Any ship that breaks formation will be considered in violation of Imperial law. Admiral Peterson's voice cut through the fleet communications. Admiral Mortak, your people are free to make their own choices. Anyone who wishes to remain with the Alliance will be welcomed. Anyone who wishes to return to alien space is free to do so. The offer split the alien fleet. 19 ships ultimately chose to remain, their crews eager to join a civilization that valued their contributions over their species' political status. The remaining vessels followed Admiral Mortak back toward alien space, carrying news that would shake the foundations of galactic society. Meanwhile, on the Alliance capital world of New Geneva, Director Karen Adams was receiving reports from across human space. The confrontation with the alien fleet had been expected, but its results exceeded their best hopes. Defection rates are accelerating, reported Intelligence Chief Mike Torres. We are seeing entire alien colonies requesting admission to the Alliance. Not just the minor species either. 3 Zephyrian trade worlds have formally applied for membership. This was the tipping point they had been working toward. The Harmony Alliance had grown beyond a human-led coalition to become something that offered everything the aliens claimed to provide, but actually delivered on its promises. Dr. Lisa Martinez reports breakthrough success with the Universal Translator project, added Science Director Holly Chen. We can now provide real-time translation between any Alliance species within 0.3 seconds accuracy. Communication barriers are essentially eliminated. The technological advantages were multiplying exponentially. While the aliens struggled with bureaucratic oversight and jealously guarded trade secrets, the Alliance's open collaboration was producing innovations at unprecedented rates. Back in alien space, Admiral Mortak's report to the Council sparked the most heated debate in the organization's history. The comfortable assumptions that had guided galactic politics for thousands of years were crumbling in the face of undeniable reality. They offered citizenship to our crews, Mortak reported, his voice hollow with defeat. Not client status, not conditional membership, but full citizenship with equal rights and representation. And they meant it. Intelligence Director Zarthak's analysis was even more devastating. The Harmony Alliance now controls approximately 30% of the galaxy's inhabitable systems. Their industrial capacity exceeds our own by an estimated 400%. Their technological advancement rate suggests they will achieve decisive superiority within 18 months. The numbers were stark, but the psychological impact was worse. The alien authority had always rested on the assumption that they represented the peak of galactic civilization. That assumption was now demonstrably false. We must consider the possibility, Zarthak continued reluctantly, that our Federation, as we know it, may not survive this challenge. The Alliance offers everything we do, but better. More freedom, more opportunity, more genuine respect for member species. Senator Mordak, his political career built on Corvan supremacy, refused to accept the implications. This is temporary. No coalition can maintain unity across so many different species. They will fragment, and we will be here to restore order. But even as he spoke, Reports were arriving of more alien worlds formally requesting Alliance membership. The exodus was no longer limited to dissatisfied minorities or distant colonies. Core worlds, founding members of the Federation, were beginning to question their loyalty to a system that increasingly seemed obsolete. General Thakmor raised the question that everyone was thinking but afraid to voice. What if they decide, we are a threat? What if they choose to take aggressive action against remaining Federation worlds? The chamber fell silent. For the first time in their civilization's history, the galactic powers found themselves contemplating their own vulnerability. The species they had dismissed as primitive newcomers had built something that made their ancient empire look primitive by comparison. The point of no return had been passed. The old galaxy was ending, and something entirely new was taking its place. 6 months after Admiral Mortak's failed show of force, the Alien Federation was falling apart faster than anyone had imagined. What started as individual defections had become an avalanche of entire sectors asking to join the Harmony Alliance. The final blow came from an unexpected source. Trade Minister Vexhal of the Zephyrian Syndicate stood before the Alien Council with the expression of someone delivering bad news about a death. Honored representatives, the Syndicate's board of directors has voted unanimously to withdraw from the Federation effective immediately. The announcement hit the chamber like a physical blow. The Zephyrians had been founding members, their trade networks forming the backbone of the Federation's economic power for over 2,000 years. The numbers are undeniable, Vexhal continued, his translator turning his clicking speech into mechanical words. Alliance trade offers 340% greater profit margins, with none of the bureaucratic restrictions that have strangled innovation for centuries. Our shareholders demand we pursue the most advantageous opportunities. Senator Mordak's response was desperate. Minister, you cannot simply dissolve treaties that have bound our civilizations for thousands of years. The legal implications alone. Senator, the Alliance legal framework is based on voluntary association and mutual benefit. Any member can withdraw at any time, just as any applicant can join based on merit rather than political favoritism. It is refreshing. With that, Vexhal activated a personal transport device that shimmered with energy signatures unknown to alien science and vanished from the chamber entirely. The demonstration was as much political theater as transportation. Alliance technology had advanced so far beyond alien capabilities that their representatives could literally disappear from secured government facilities at will. The message was clear. The old powers were no longer in control of anything, including their own meetings. Senator Mordak looked around the nearly empty chamber. Of the 847 species that had once comprised the Federation, fewer than 200 remained. Most of those were client states with no real choice, or founding members too invested in the old system to acknowledge its failure. Meanwhile, in the Harmony Alliance, the transition was accelerating beyond all projections. Director Karen Adams was briefing Alliance leadership from the new capital complex on Concordia, a world that had been transformed from barren rock to garden paradise in less than 18 months. Integration of the Zephyrian trade networks will increase our economic capacity by 2,000%, reported Economic Coordinator Janet Williams. Combined with Corvin industrial technology and hegemony research facilities, we are looking at capabilities that exceed anything in galactic history. The numbers were staggering, but the real transformation was social. Species that had been enemies for centuries were working together as equals. Ancient grudges were being set aside in favor of shared prosperity. The alliance had not just changed the balance of power, it had redefined what galactic civilization could be. The cultural integration programs are exceeding all expectations, added Social Director Ryan Martinez. We are seeing interspecies cooperation at levels that were theoretically impossible. Shared research projects, joint colonies, even interspecies families in some cases. This was perhaps the Alliance's greatest achievement. The Federation had maintained order through separation and hierarchy, keeping species distinct and ranked. The Alliance encouraged integration and equality, creating a truly unified civilization where genetic origin mattered less than individual contribution. Admiral Jack Peterson, now commanding a fleet that spanned hundreds of systems, reported on the military situation. Federation naval capacity has dropped below 15% of our own. Most of their remaining vessels are obsolete by 30 years or more. They are essentially defenseless if we chose to take aggressive action. The room fell silent at this assessment. The Alliance had achieved overwhelming superiority in less than 3 years, starting from a position of apparent weakness. They now possessed the power to simply conquer the remaining Federation worlds if they chose. But Director Adams shook her head firmly. That is not who we are. We did not build this to replace one empire with another. We built it to prove there was a better way. Instead of conquest, the Alliance continued its policy of open invitation. Any species, any world, any individual who wanted to join was welcomed based solely on their willingness to contribute to the common good. The results spoke for themselves. On the former Federation world of Kepler Prime, Governor Tim Jackson was hosting a celebration that would have been unthinkable under the old system. Representatives from 40 different species worked together to manage a world that had become a showcase of sustainable development and technological innovation. 1 year ago, our mining operations were struggling to meet basic quotas under Federation regulations, he announced to the mixed crowd of humans, Zephyrians, Kelvins, and dozens of other species. Today, we are producing more refined materials than the entire Federation core worlds combined, and we are doing it without environmental damage. The transformation was visible everywhere. Cities designed by crystal architects using water dweller, environmental techniques, transportation systems based on energy being manipulation, agricultural areas managed through plant species biological expertise combined with human automation. But the most remarkable change was in the people themselves. Children of different species played together in schools that would have been impossible under Federation segregation policies. Adults of various origins worked side by side in research labs, factories, and government offices. The Alliance had not just changed politics. It had created a new kind of society. Back on Nexus Prime, the Federation Council was facing its final crisis. Intelligence Director Zarthak was presenting what everyone knew would be her last report to a body that had become largely irrelevant. Current membership stands at 87 species, she announced to the half-empty chamber. Economic output has declined by 85% over the past year. Military capability is essentially negligible, and the remaining member worlds are increasingly questioning the benefits of continued Federation membership. The writing was on the wall. The Federation had become a hollow shell, maintained by tradition, rather than any practical benefit to its members. Even the founding species were beginning to recognize that their ancient empire had been superseded by something far superior. General Thakmore voiced what everyone was thinking. Perhaps it is time to consider negotiating terms for peaceful dissolution. The Alliance has made it clear they are willing to accept any Federation world that applies for membership. Senator Mordak's response was the last gasp of a dying order. Never. We are the rightful rulers of this galaxy. We have maintained order for 3,000 years. We cannot simply surrender to a coalition of primitives and outcasts. But even as he spoke, reports were arriving of the final Federation military units requesting permission to defect to the Alliance. The last Corvan battle fleet had formally surrendered to Alliance forces, its crews eager to join a military that valued competence over political connections. 3 months later, the dissolution was complete. In a ceremony broadcast across the galaxy, the remaining Federation Council formally voted to disband their organization and recommend that all member worlds consider Alliance membership. The vote was unanimous. Even Senator Mordak, faced with the complete collapse of everything he had worked for, eventually acknowledged the inevitable. Director Karen Adams accepted the Federation's formal surrender with grace and dignity. This is not about victory or defeat, she announced to the galaxy-wide audience. This is about choosing to build something better together. The Harmony Alliance welcomes any world, any species, any individual who wants to be part of a civilization based on cooperation rather than domination. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within days, every former Federation world had applied for Alliance membership. The transition was so smooth that most citizens barely noticed the change in government. except for the immediate improvements in their daily lives. 1 year later, Captain Emma Foster of the exploration vessel UHS Pioneer was charting the galaxy's outer rim, searching for new civilizations to contact and potentially welcome into the ever-expanding alliance. Her ship was crewed by representatives of over 20 different species, working together with efficiency and harmony that would have seemed impossible under the old system. "Captain," called Science Officer Zarlin, a former Federation intelligence analyst who had found new purpose in peaceful exploration, "we are detecting artificial signals from the Andromeda proximity. It appears we may have found another spacefaring civilization." Captain Foster smiled as her diverse crew prepared for first contact protocols that emphasized friendship and mutual benefit rather than exploitation and control. "Excellent. Let us go introduce ourselves properly. And remember, we are not representing humanity anymore. We are representing the Alliance, all of us together." As the Pioneer adjusted course toward the unknown signals, its wake was followed by constructor ships, medical vessels, and diplomatic transports. The Alliance did not just make contact with new civilizations. They were prepared to immediately offer genuine partnership and assistance,